Good. Right. All good, Dan?
All good, Chris. You all right? Yeah?
Yes, mate. I'm absolutely awesome. So, I guess we should start by telling the listeners where we are.
Yeah.
And why we're here, what we're going to talk about. So, so one thing we did, me and Dan actually met. What was it, 2, 3, 4 months ago now?
About 3-4 months ago.
And we met at a coffee shop, didn't we?
Yeah.
And I think it's been a common theme ever since, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And
should be training more, but we're at coffee bars instead. Yeah.
So we've got a common theme here, haven't we? So literally, coffee shop. We're doing a bit of a tour. So today we're actually in the Bear in Derby.
Yeah.
And we thought it's an opportunity. Very good coffee. I'd give it out of 10. That's an 8.5.
Well, definitely, I'd definitely recommend it. So get yourself here to the Bear. Very good.
So we've just had the Turkish eggs.
Oh, beautiful.
What do you reckon? Sourdough toast.
Very, very healthy.
Yeah.
Honestly.
With the amount of hollandaise sauce on that, the calories are certainly bumped up. But hey, so we're actually going to call this the Busi Dads podcast, aren't we?
Yeah.
It's the first one today. So we have no idea how it's going to go. But we're going to make a start, aren't we?
Yeah.
And what we're looking to do is basically discuss
thank you.
some of the most common. Thank you very much. Wow, Dan, that's a nice flat white.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's good. Appreciate that. Right. Yeah. So we're going to actually discuss some of the biggest challenges.
By the way, Chris has had some water because he's buzzing already off the coffee.
I've had like 3 coffees this morning.
So it's not because he doesn't like the coffee.
No, the coffee is brilliant.
He's just buzzing.
I can't drink any more coffee. That's it. So, we're going to discuss the biggest challenge, aren't we, when it comes to kind of busy dads and some of the obstacles and that they obviously have to navigate around, with this sort of stage in life, and how that sort of impacts on their ability to look after and sustain and maintain and improve their own kind of health and fitness.
Yeah.
So, I guess a really good place to start, Dan, would be to ask you kind of what, as a dad, and then a very new dad as well, in terms of, obviously I think if you give the listeners maybe a bit of a background on,
what we're doing.
where you were at, in terms of your situation, and also like your biggest challenge, like you would say, in terms of your health and fitness.
So, we've had a new baby. 3-week-old. We've got another two little ones as well. So kind of me and Chris kind of discussed this as well. Chris has got a few children as well, and
a few.
He's one ahead of me at the moment. So he's winning. But we're just like discussing basically where we are with kind of work and how we juggle, like say when they're up at night and when they're not. How do we, if we've got a session 6 in the morning, or how do we feel when we get there, and how we just basically stay on track with work, really, isn't it? You know what I mean? And if you've had a bad night, or one of the kids is not feeling great, and so on. So we're just talking about that. I'm currently at the moment like, our oldest one's not sleeping great, so like 2 in the morning is up. Sometimes 4, sometimes just before I'm going to a session. So it's just managing that as well. It's very, very challenging. But we're just going to chat about those kind of things today as well. Yeah. I mean, Chris as well. I mean, what do you think? How's your sleep patterns nowadays compared to say when you just had your kids? I mean,
So obviously with the 4 girls being a little bit older, their obviously sleep patterns are a lot more consistent, a lot more routine. That doesn't go to say that obviously we don't have the challenging nights, especially when they're poorly or something like that. Of course, the unexpected kind of nights where you have to get up or whatever at 2 o'clock in the morning. They are there. And sometimes evenings where they're not going to bed, on time, and you still at 8, 9 o'clock at night trying to get them to bed. And then also the waking up early in the morning. So we're quite fortunate that obviously with Imogen, our youngest being 4 now, I guess we're growing out of that initial stage, but it doesn't come without its sort of challenges. And I think the main lesson for me is, that what worked kind of 10, 15 years ago doesn't necessarily work today. And I've had to sort of realign my expectations, change the way I do things, be a bit more dynamic with the routine, operate more from a place of auto-regulation to better meet myself where I'm at, and appreciate that, you know, I can't always operate at 100% when X or Y has happened. So that's been a big lesson for me, you know, and I think I've come from a position where I have a very much a perfectionist mentality, so that's something I've had to really gain more control of over the last sort of years.
So when you're saying auto regulation, just like expand on that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
like, so auto regulation. You know, we apply this sort of training, apply this principle really in a context of training normally. So, you know, we're basically assessing how we are, how we feel.
Yeah.
You know, our level of stress. And any other external factors, looking at things like hydration, looking at things how you know, how well nourished we are, how well fueled we are, how well recovered we are, all these kind of things that are going to have our consideration, that are going to have some form of impact, positively or negatively, on how we perform, both in a context of training, but also in a context of from a cognition point of view, and how we might operate and perform within the rounds of our day-to-day lives, within the rounds of business and stuff like that as well. So, you know, a good example of this is that, you know, if we've had a lack of sleep, then we are going to be obviously underslept, which then is going to impact on, you know, our both physical and cognitive, you know, function, and also our performance when it comes to our gym training as well. So therefore, if we're going to go to a gym session that day, it might not be a good idea to think, okay, I'm going to go all out, hit some PRs, and, you know, go full send that session. It might just be a case of pulling right back and just doing the bare minimums, and it might just be a case of just getting it in, doing some pump work, and getting yourself out, and just doing a minimal effective dose. You know, and it's about really, auto-regulation is about meeting yourself where you're at. You know, based on the external factors, you know, within life. And I think more so as a dad, when we know we've had them kind of poor night's sleep, we have to be more and more aware of this, because what we do know, and if we kind of go into that session full send, our ability to recover is going to be also less likely, which is then going to impact on how you feel and how you perform on the next days to come as well.
So when would you say, so for example, I've had like whatever, not much sleep last night. When would I train? When would Chris recommend me to, as a busy dad, I've not had much sleep, today I want to go and train, what would be the optimum time for me to go and train?
I think the first things, I mean, you know, in terms of optimal time to train, I mean, it's going to come down to, you know, when is best suited in regards to your schedule. Did you have a planned session in mind, or a time in mind that you were going to train?
So for example, so let's say today I thought, well, the kids are going to stay in bed, I'm going to have a nice night, I'm going to train 8 in the morning. So would you tell me go for it at 8, or would you just go, right, actually you need to train at a different time of day?
I think that's, I mean in terms of, it's all going to depend, isn't it? But if you train at 8 o'clock, then it's a case of assessing how you feel, and I think going to that session, but just like, if you've got a plan, one of the things that work really well for me is, especially in the context of doing strength training, I'd break it down to red, amber, and sort of green. So I'd always get the stuff that I need to do done. That would be my main lift, my basic sort of strength work, and I'd make sure that as a non-negotiable that it gets done. Now, I always have the option there, depending on how I felt, is to can the rest of the session. But if I'm feeling kind of like I can do a little bit more, then I might add some secondary sort of lifts in there, or secondary sort of compound work in there if you like. Then I've also got the option of doing some kind of metcon or some conditioning work at the end as well, or some accessory work. It all depends. So I always feel that always have the ability to get something in, because I think that's incredibly important just to maintain the consistency.
So even if it wasn't what I was expecting to do, so say if I've got, I don't know, heavy lifts planned at 8 a.m. You would say don't worry about it, whatever, like even if it's 4 p.m, as long as you're getting something in that day, that will help.
Yeah, I mean, there's different ways of regulating a session. So you could look at your sort of perceived exertion on a session. So if you're you're working at say 8s and 9s, and you had planned to do that, then you might want to pull that back and sort of do 6s and 7s.
Yeah.
In terms of the effort required. So just look at it as more of a recovery session or a deload session or something like that.
Yeah.
Where you're just pulling back a little bit. You're not, what you've got to look at. The basis of this is that when you're underslept and you've not given the opportunity for your body to kind of fully recover, and there's obviously many different factors to consider with this, is that if you go and train like full on, what's going to happen is you're just going to compound more strain on the body, which is then going to have a more negative impact on your ability to recover. Your recovery capabilities are going to be compromised with a lack of sleep. So therefore we have to better match ourselves and think, okay, like every training session you need to do what you can recover from. So if you're going in that supplying a minimum effective dose, the chances are you will recover better, which means in the following days you could continue to get the next session in. So really it's about being consistent over the course of time. Because if we got all in on that session, we may feel that we could actually do that, and many people do that. They go into that session full on actually, but not really appreciating actually for the next couple of days they might be carrying a lot more kind of stress in that acceleration.
Here's one then for you, and I'll put spanner in works. So you've got all this planned, and then I don't know, something comes up and your wife or someone says, right, got to go and do this, and then you had something planned at that time. How would you mentally deal with, I've got a session planned, but the thing that you're going to do for your wife is more important?
It's priority.
It's priority that time. So how would you deal with that situation?
Yeah, so shifting priorities there, isn't there? So I think, for me, this all comes down to planning. So what I would tend to do is create several spaces across the course of my week where I have opportunity to train. So obviously today, for example, we said that last night we'll come and do this. So initially I put a plan in to train this morning, which is absolutely fine.
Sorry.
But obviously we don't get these opportunities that often, so I shifted the priority to focus on this. But then off the back of that, I planned the session in tomorrow instead.
Perfect.
And that's just having a plan B, and also operating with minimums and maximums. So for me, in the marathon prep at the moment, training load and frequency is obviously higher. So 6 sessions a week, 3 strength, 3 endurance. And although I want to fulfill every session as much as I can over the course of time, there are going to be occasions where things do crop up, especially around holidays, especially around when kids are off school, which means that naturally, there may not be as much opportunity due to all the commitments to actually get those sessions in. So therefore, I have to accept at some point I may have to operate with a minimum, just hit my minimum effective dose across the course week, which could look like 3 to 4 sessions, with my maximum being about 6. And it's just really having an acceptance around that and realising that it's not really about actually trying to fill every single session all the time. The consistency of doing most of your sessions most of the time is going to be sufficient for the majority of people, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. That sounds good. Sounds good. So so obviously we're just generally talking about being busy as dads and trying to kind of continue our business. So we've both got similar businesses and we collaborate as well. So we're just trying to discuss how we juggle these things and how not to mentally kind of kick yourself if a scenario comes up where the family's priority at that time. Do you know what I mean? And it always is priority as well. So family is priority. So it's just figuring those things out. So I suppose the other scenario would be how your kids are a little bit older than mine. So how do you go about training with them? So would you take them to a session? How would you get them involved with with activity as a busy dad?
Yeah, I'm a big advocate of that. You know, I always want, you know, to kind of set the right. What's the word I'm looking for? Really. Yeah, I want to be that role model.
Yeah.
You know, to my kids, and I think a big advocate in letting them kind of, you know, see the stuff that I do from a training perspective, and I guess generate a healthy relationship around exercise, for them to see that it's a, you know, a good component in their life. They want to kind of embark on it. It doesn't have to be necessarily gym-based training, but just to lead an active, healthier lifestyle.
Yeah, good.
And I feel that, you know, obviously I want to be a leader to them in that respect, and to showcase that this is what the possibilities are, but at the same time not apply the pressure that feel they need to do that. Like, I want them to kind of be able to experience different things.
So you wouldn't like get them involved with just one certain club or one certain thing. You'd let them kind of.
I'd let them explore. Like, exploration is, I think, is a real big thing as a kid, and that experience. And you know, I've seen all my girls go through different clubs, ranging from dancing through swimming, through to cheerleading, through to various different, you know, range of different activities and clubs. And I think, you know, it's like we have over the years experienced different forms of training. You know, it's like different types of training, you know, ranging from, you know, physique, you know, in terms of building a physique, in terms of improving strength, in terms of improving power, in terms of speed, all these different components of fitness we've, you know, learned to explore, and we've gained a lot from having the opportunity to, you know, it's almost like training at different gyms. You know, you become inspired by different things that, you know, that certain gym or whatever it might be offers. So, yeah, I definitely think, you know, it's really about leading them, as opposed to like sort of trying to mould them. If that makes sense. And like for them to kind of see you doing what you do. In terms of like training, like there's occasions where on a weekend it'll be a case of I'll go down to gym and they'll kind of just come down with me, and they'll play around. They'll do a few ring rows and a few sprints on the track and that sort of stuff. So, and they enjoy it. You know, they'll come down together and they'll get a few mats out and just do their own thing. You know, it's good for them to see that gym environment. You know, I think one of the most satisfying thing is that, you know, when Imogen comes home from school and she's chatting about the fact that she's told her friends about my dad's got a gym, and it's quite cool, you know. You know, and the stuff we've done. So I think that's really powerful, and you know, I think for them to see that, it'll become like almost a second nature for them as they grow up. Really.
I think as well, like our eldest one as well, he's needing like physio exercise at the moment. So I've got a few kind of things that I work on with him, but I generally take him into our studio as well, and he just likes climbing onto the bench, jumping off onto a crash mat, so working on kind of gross motor skills, kind of them kind of things. So I think Chris is right as well. You take him into the gym environment and make it kind of playful, in a sense of like, right, we're going to Daddy's gym or Daddy's house, as mine's known as Daddy's house, and yeah, you just let the kids explore. Obviously, you've got to be safe and so on. But I think getting them, like you said, into a second nature with that environment is brilliant. And I think it's great. We've got opportunity to probably do that. I mean, not many other. You can't take many other 4-year-olds into office, can you? And, right, just sit here whilst I'm typing out emails or whatever. So we're in a fortunate situation, aren't we, with that really? So it's pretty cool. But yeah,
that's spot on. Yeah,
wicked. So good. I think we're going to call it there, because 20 minutes. I think you lot will enjoy 20 minutes of a podcast. If it's me and Chris for an hour or hour and a half, I think we need to rein it in a bit and probably add to it as we go along. So good to see you all, and good to talk, Chris. So,
fantastic time, matey, and we'll look forward to the next one.
See you soon, everyone.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
That's alright, wasn't it? Yeah. I feel like